Oh, the stream is live. Well, good evening to everyone. Welcome to the full moon of January 2024. I guess I'm back in the layers somewhere. It's so nice that all of you can and join us tonight as we give a few teachings of Grandma Moon and also to honor Grandmother Moon and make those offerings that are part of the ceremony. So at some point you may see someone else joining us, and when they do, that will be wonderful and awesome. So as we start tonight's show, I guess what we're going to do is we're going to um, you know take a look at what's happening outside your door. See if you can see Grandmother Moon, but I bet you most of you can't because, yeah, there's some precipitation happening here. And the precipitation is actually a beautiful thing because it tells us that Grandmother Moon is, sending her beautiful water blessings to us. And you put your head towards the sky and you feel those water blessings, and it works with the energy of your love and heart that helps us to make it through another day. Because a lot of us struggle with different issues, and we just need those signs from nature that we are loved and we are blessed. So that's part of what this precipitation falling is all about. So I'm going to turn it over to Grandma Renee so she can give some opening words, and then we will continue.
Good evening, everyone, and what a beautiful night. Yes, it is beautiful because we're receiving a lot of love, that mist, that medicine that we need. And I know a lot of people are complaining because of people wanting control, but nature has a way of reminding us on restoring ourselves, restoring our spirit. And at this time, we do need this medicine to clear our minds, clear our heads, because our minds, it's validated right here. When you look outside, all our minds are fogged. We're not thinking clearly. And the most important thing is that at this time, when we see such a thing like this as this fog, we are reminded on how to make things right. And so this is medicine right now. When we breathe, we're taking in the newness, the brightness of light again. And so with that, we're going to give thanks. So at this time, I would like each one of you is just imagine you're outside in that mist. We were outside earlier, um, having a walk, and the the mist was so beautiful. I know Gail had me walking a little fast, but she's got longer legs than I do, and I just like to take my time, and she's just walking real fast. So here we are. We were celebrating this journey of being with Mother Earth and our grandmother Moon and Creator. They also tell us that at this time the Creator is walking amongst us to see if we are following our instruction, if we remember who we are. We're spiritual beings, and we have forgotten how to be spiritual beings. We've forgotten how to love and how to think in a good way. And so let's start a new day in this way. And so every time you wake up, let's take those 3 deep breaths and bring in the newness of life. And so I often say, just step outside your door, because that first morning dew is that gift from creation. And so at this time, we're going to take in that breath, and we're out there in that mist, and we're feeling the mist all about us. And that mist is so gentle and kind, and that plays a very important role. It's like Grandmother Moon, she's crying softly, like a mother that has seen her children go astray, and that she hopes that things will change for them. And so at this time, we take that deep breath and we become one with her. So we took that first breath for sky, for the sky world. Now we'll take that second breath for creation, for our mother, the earth, because she has gifts to give to us too. And so we take that deep breath and we breathe it in, and it fills our lungs with compassion and kindness and caring. And so now we take in that third breath, and that third breath is for creation. I mean, the creation of our coming faces. And so they're waiting out there. They're waiting in the line. How many of you have little ones that are going to be coming soon? And that's a reminder that they teach us about love. They teach us about embracing and taking care of those ones that are coming. And so we take that third breath, and so now we give thanks. De tino alada ni ni staha yon honzari. De tino alada ohen de raso. De tino alada John Hekwa. Ne tino alada kai sa. Ne tino alada Garunda son tana oguerli sa. De tino alada otsit no sa. De tino alada kanindiro. De tino alada sigatni gora. Ne tino alada itiswatarati veras. Ne tino alada kaeli ne walage. Ne tino alada ne sonquazia de canigalaqua. De tino alada ne onke sota sotagalaqua. De tino alada ne odistacaroni. De tino alada ne sonquayadiso. Wow. Even saying those words are filled with a lot of love. We're giving our appreciation and gratitude for all those helpers that have been looking after us. And so what we have just done is we give them thanks. We thank them for sharing their life with us and making it possible that we're here for another day. And so they are the ones that will make us resilient. They are the ones that are going to teach us how to hold ourselves up and never give up. That's the most important thing. That's why the sun rises, is always to tell us that, we got another day. Don't give up. And then we have the sun, and that one tells us, I'm still with you. I'm watching over you. You're never alone. And that's the beauty of all things, because we are taught that we're never alone. And when we look around, we see all our family. And that plays a very important role. When I go and I see the trees and I see the plants, I see all these things, I said, wow, I belong to a big family. And I'm so grateful because, we understood them when they used to talk to us. And so right now, Grandmother Moon is talking to us. Grandmother Moon is giving us our instructions. And many of you have had some challenging days. Every 3 days before each changing of the moon, we're going to feel a lot of emotions. A lot of you have held in your emotions. And it's what we weren't created for. We weren't to hold on to a lot of anger. You see, anger is the greatest and deadliest disease of all. And that's why Grandmother Moon, she wants us she knows what's going on inside us. And what she's doing is she's drawing that water. And so that water is our tears. That water is that sweetness. And so when we use that water, we're renewing ourselves, just like the rain. And this rain is needed too, because look what man has done to it. So don't complain, please. If you find it raining and raining and raining and raining, look what man has done that has harmed us. The water, the pollution. And so you see, they know their duty is to take care of us. And so Grandmother Moon, she is in charge of the water, they say. And so she sent this water to renew us, to renew the land, the air, and the water. And so how many of you, I would like many of you is to put out your cup of water and pour some water in there in your cup and just sit it there. And we're going to be talking to the water, and the water is listening, and the water has a message for us. And that's why when we're in ceremony, you always have to include water. Because when we're done, all the goodness of our love and our kindness And when we take that and put that back into us, we're filled with kindness and goodness, the medicine that is needed. And so I'm going to turn it over to Gail.
Oh, always such beautiful words. And when she talked about the rain and the wiping us off, I'm always thinking of the wiping of the tears and the importance of water and cleaning our minds and our hearts. So we have a condolence ceremony that we use to clean and clear when we get to that place where we need that extra bit of love and kindness, and we need that little bit of ceremony just to get us back on track again. So the wiping of the tears, we have to look at opening up our ears so that we can hear again, um, looking at our eyes so that we can see clearly. We have to look at our throat, and we have to look at the words of kindness that we need to put out there. We need to look at our heart, and we need to, take away that pain and change that pain into some beauty, so that we can be complete again. So the brushing off also represents smudging. So a lot of times, if you use, maybe you have a pine bough or you have a cedar bough or you have, some type of bough, you dip it into the water, and you can use that water to clean and to clear and to renew and to make things good again. And one of the most powerful experiences I had was in Ecuador. We went to this little village, took that motorized boat to this landing, and we climbed up the hill. And the first thing they did was they took us to a place where they cleaned us off. And that's really important. We have to know that we're carrying stuff that might have an influence on the energies of the land there. And so they had this little bench, and so, or this little fence, and it kind of reminded me of what we do when we come out of fasting. How we have to let go of anything remaining, and clear our whole body, mind, and spirit. And so we put our head over, and that's what they did. They took the leaves, and they just wiped us off. And even though I've done that many times, it was, I don't know, there was just something really special about that, getting that clearing done down in the Ecuadorian jungle. And of course, they showed us how to call it alligator after that, which was really interesting. Interesting too. And here comes this little alligator, maybe about that big, like a baby alligator. But I mean, and the other thing about that trip too was we found out that they had been up to our territory and up to our lands, and they knew people who we knew. So we were in the middle of the jungle, and they also have Wi-Fi. And I found that interesting too, because um, our nations have been traumatized, and so they adopted Wi-Fi so that they could keep in contact with everyone. So the jungle, the rainforest talks about the blessings that the rainforest bring us every day too. So we have a lot to think about when we think about the power of the water, the power of that rain, and the power of both the male and the female rains. The female rains are those nice gentle rains, and then the power of those really forceful male rains. It's a beautiful blend, and we really need both, because both of them have a different effect on our souls. And so when we look up at Grandma Moon, we also look at the stars, and we look at the star people, and we look at and are reminded that we're not in this universe alone. And so we have to honor also our star beings, and we look at the connections that we have with the universe. So the sun is the middle of our universe, our solar system, but it resonates with all the other suns throughout the universe. And so, what is the sun? The sun is that fire, it's that power, it's that spark that we all have within. So, it's kind of like in our hearts and our bodies, we have this candle. And sometimes the candle almost goes out, when we're in the darkest of times. But all we simply have to do is we have to um, make that light get stronger and stronger, and and then we have to start unfolding so that that light can burn brighter and it can bring with us that beauty. And I mention these things, but in reality, that's exactly what we're looking for. Our healing, our deep healing, comes from nature, and it comes from the universe, and it comes from the stars, and it comes from Grandma Moon, and it comes from the earth and our communities. And so it's up to us as human beings to understand that we have to light our fire again, and we have to light it in a big way so that we have um, our 7 generations coming have a home that they can call home, and they can love it as much as we love our homes at this time. So the honoring of the moon also brings many, many, many challenges, but much beauty and much for us to think about, and much for us to um, to make sacred. Everywhere we walk on this Mother Earth, we are sacred beings, and being sacred beings, we have to present ourselves as that. We have to look and we have to say, what is the sacredness within? And if I can't find it, why can't I find it? And how do I move that trauma if I do find it? How do I let go? And so I'm just putting this in a little advertising. Right now, we're getting prepared for a beautiful 3 days with Dennis Windigo. So Dennis Windigo is teaching us, and I guess really emphasizing the techniques, more importantly, to let go of that trauma, let go. And as was mentioned today, trauma is from the past. And so we have to let that past go, and we really have to focus on um, cleaning up our space, cleaning up our mind, cleaning up our land, cleaning up the air, cleaning, letting go, refreshing. And so I think of those words to describe um, exactly what this 3 days is going to encompass. It's going to give us those techniques that we need. And the beauty of it is we have people who can then go out into the communities, and they can share what they've learned, and they can use those techniques to um, help bring that power of the moon back. We look at the moon, but we can't feel the power. Although we can feel the power, we just don't know we can feel the power. So even if there's the fog, and even if there's the precipitation, the power of that moon still shines through. And that's something that we have to, um, I guess, pay attention to, because when we look at that, we look at, wow, I know the moon is there. Um, and I know that I can't see her, but it doesn't mean that she's not there and you can't feel her. So you have to really find those ways to say, the unseen. Just because it's unseen doesn't mean that it's um, not unknown, or doesn't mean that it has to fade away and not do the healing um, that it's supposed to do. So yeah, we're in a time of, I guess, a lot of chaos, but we need that chaos as well. We need that chaos to help us to appreciate that great feeling when things come back and the light shines. So I'm going to turn it over to Grandma Renee again, and we're just going to um, keep the conversation going.
Yes. Yes. Thank you, Gail. You reminded me of a lot of things, and that's how we work. She'll start, we'll start, and it just brings back a lot of things. It's just like the grandmothers are speaking to us, and they're saying, "Don't forget this, don't forget this." And then when we're sitting here talking, and it's just like the grandmothers are sitting with us, and to honor even your own grandmother. She's had a lot of hard times, and you're here because of her. And they say that we she carries the third seed, and she carries,
Yeah.
and she's gone through a lot. Life wasn't really, as they say, gentle. We all have. to go through hard times. Even the animals. The Creator, he was when he made life for us, and he realized that he was making it too easy for us, and that's
Mm.
why his brother had stepped in and says, "Now," he said, "they need something to help them to learn life." And he says, I agree. And that's just like some parents, we've lost that understanding of parenting, and we have a tendency to give our children everything. And that's where Grandmother Moon, she's gone through a lot of challenges. And one of the most important things she is to teach us is discipline. And that's why we have these hard times, is because we have to learn how to discipline ourselves. And that's the most important message that Grandmother Moon brings us, because she was a young girl. She had all the problems that you're having. She had all the challenges that you had. There was even single parenting then. And she was without a lot of things. So it's nothing new. We always say, "Oh, why is this happening to me?" It's because we forgot our life skills, our tools. And that's what Grandmother Moon, she was given that opportunity to be put back up in the sky to remind her grandchildren that you can get through anything.
Mm.
And I'm so grateful that I knew the story of Grandmother Moon, because, as being a human being, we had we had some challenges learning how to live here on Earth, because a lot of the people here on Earth had forgotten their original instruction. And so as a result, there was a lot of negative energy. Where we came from was a lot of loving kindness and goodness. And so this energy, we had to deal with it, because this is why those babies play a very important role in our lives. That's what the grandmothers have always said. When it's just like a messenger has come from the sky world, our future messengers, to
Mm.
help us, to remind us how to love again, and how to be kind, and create a safe environment. And that's what these children, it wasn't to abuse them. See how much the world has changed? They say that when a child is born, and that you have a child, you are and in that mode of being very protective. That's how we looked at things. And you couldn't take, as they say, there couldn't be any place in your community that a child couldn't go to.
Yeah.
Wow, isn't that? Look how far removed we've gone from our instructions. Look at what's happening. Look what the children see. Look what the children are have in front of them on a daily basis. And this is why Grandmother Moon, maybe that's why she's crying so much this year. It's because we've lost that understanding of protecting, and that's why we'd call that hidden under the husk. We would protect what they saw. We would protect what they heard, and we protect why this. It wasn't
Mm.
so that they would swear, because when they learned it from the adults. And when they swear, it tells that's what the grandmother is hearing. She's hearing a lot of sad language. That's what she called it. People are swearing. And you know what that does? It disrupts your water. It disrupts your stomach. This is why you're going to have a lot of health problems. And the more you use that language, you create a place for disease to come in. That's why Grandmother Moon, that's why she comes 4 times in 1 month. She's wanting to remind us of self-care, of love, how to take care of ourselves, how to appreciate what we have. And that's what grandmother, she had to learn all those lessons. She had lost her daughter. Not really lose her daughter, but her daughter had to journey on before her time. And that's what happened to me. And so I learned these things from, if that, if that can happen to another person, I can get through it. And I don't want to get stuck there, because I have other children, and I want to do things to give life, to be of life, and to ensure life. That's what a grandmother wants. That's why Grandmother Moon is here.
Mm.
That's her duty, is to remind us there should be no division in the families. That's what's hurting her. There's too many divisions. We've forgotten how to be star people. We come from a very sacred place. We come from the sky world, and we came as babies. We were without, isn't that what they say? We were without sin. And that was so true because we were so empowered with love. And I look at a baby, and the baby can tell if you are filled with love. They can tell when you're angry, they can tell when you're sad, they can tell these things. They're a lot smarter than adults, you know that? And that's what the grandmother said. She held, I strongly believe she holds, because that's what we're told in our way, that that grandmother, she knows each and every one of us. She knows what's going on in our hearts and in our minds, in our spirit. And so I strongly believe that she held each one of us, and she give us that gift. You know what, a grandma has come to a place where she's not judgmental. She has to be fair. And so this is what she's passing on to her loved ones. Remind them to love. Remind them to spend time with each other. You know, that plays a very important role. And I wish there was more grandmothers around to help, you know, to nurture, this is why those old age homes, you make use of that grandmother. That's her purpose, or that grandpa. I know some of them have been broken, but they also you need, we need to get together and say our prayers for all those ones that our parents or grandparents that were broken. They were little children that had been broken, and they carried that hurt and that pain. So we need to get together, and we need to send out our prayers every day to all those that had a broken spirit. And that's Grandma again. Grandma wants you to think of those that have been broken and help them. Send off your good words and your kind words to them. And that's why we honor her. We honor her for what she has given us. For she tells us that she will give us this, our first birthplace is in water. And when it's time for us to come, that water will break. And then at that time, we are introduced to the earth by that first water. We are in ceremonies when they clean the baby off. We are in ceremonies when we teach our children to wash their face and wash their ears. That's ceremony. That's your relationship. Teach your children that this is a gift, a very special gift, because the people have far been removed from the purpose of water. Show them that this is where you come from. You cannot survive without water, and that's what grandmother wants us to remember. So as each of us become human beings, let us remember what the grandmother has. She's always there. And that's the beauty of it. My grandmas have passed on, but to me, they're still there. They're still helping me. And I would say, "Oh, Grandma, I wish you were here. You could tell me these things again." But all I have to do is just go outside, and I can be in silence, just looking up in the stars, and it just seems like, wow, that energy that comes over. And sometimes I get so emotional because I feel that love that my grandmas are around, my great grandmas, all those ones that before me. They're standing in this big circle around us, and they're looking after us, and they're helping us. They're, as you would say, they had taught us, how many of your grandmothers have done this to you, your forehead, and brush that off, your tears off. And so you see, this is why we have these ceremonies. This is why it was created, was to to help someone else. This is our job. This is why we were given this gift to reassure love and kindness. This is that first medicine. We didn't have pills a long time ago when we had a headache or anything like that. What you would do to our children when they would come and their minds were troubled, we would sit there and we would do that and we would wipe their face. And just that touch is medicine. That's what the children are missing today. And that's what the grandmothers are wanting to share with you. That we need to be back to this gift of nurturing. That is what we need today for our children. This is why there's so much crime. This is why there's so much violence. This is why there's taking drugs. Is we need to get back to nurturing them and holding them in that kind way. This is what I'm reminded when I'm with my grandmother. I'm reminded of all those things that she taught me. So when I look up in the sky world, I look up and I say, okay, Graham, I'm doing the best that I can today. And I'll try my best tomorrow. That's the only thing that we can do is to share that gift with them. And so this is why we're doing this tonight. And on the moon, we're giving you another understanding of why we honor and celebrate a moon ceremony. This is a part of moon ceremony. You're learning all about that first grandmother. You're learning about love. You're learning about this relationship that plays a very important role for you because you also need to be nurtured. You also need to know that you're not alone because sometimes we think that way. Oh, there's nobody to help me. There's nobody to know what I'm going through. Oh, no. Grandmother Moon, she knows. That's why she's there in the sky. So I turned it over to
Yeah, yeah. So as grandmother speaking, I get the vision of the Grandma Moon and being that grandmother. She knows how to cry, and she knows how to cry tears of happiness, and she knows how to uh, cry tears of sorrow. And so her job, this lady sitting next to me, is to make you cry, and so she does that well. So in all of the different ways that we look at healing, those tears, I mean, they're such beautiful tears. So I'm reminded of a journey. We were actually on the Unity ride. I don't even know what year it was. Maybe it was
2014.
2004.
Yeah,
I think it
2004.
was 2004. And so at the time we were riding with the the West. They brought their horses and they were um, doing a very sacred journey to our land. And so we met them at I guess, at the border of Wisconsin, and we carried them here to Six Nations. And there was one time when we were pulling into a farm, and so there was a process that we did. Every night we would do what they would we would do what they would call a circle up, and at circle up the horses would come and they would circle around, and it was our time to talk about the day and what the next day was going to look out look like. But on one of these particular days, we were traveling with a bunch of our relatives from Akwesasne, and the men decided to sing us. So in our traditional way, they would go by two, and they started singing, and they started like we started moving up the laneway, and it was the most beautiful sight because all of the animals that we had with us, but also the farm animals that of the in the neighborhood, the horses all started to do that. They all started to circle as our songs were being sung, and so there was this great big beautiful happiness and joy that came into our hearts, and the tears flowed. And so one of the men traveling with us, he said he said he says that's a spiritual moment, because we want to define things in our human way, but that's a spiritual journey. When he said that, that's that spirituality. It made all the sense in the world, because when something makes your heart so happy that it brings tears, then that's that spiritual moment. So I think of Grandma Moon and her love that she has for us, and so she has to cry for us sometimes, and so that's what that rain is, and that's what that precipitation is, and sometimes, like was said, she has to scold us a bit and say, "Hey, you know better than this, so you better make it right." Doesn't give us the recipe to do that, but we know we have to think about it, and we have to start making things right. So, in order to make things right, we have to go back into our stories. Like, when we think about all the beauty in our culture and all the beauty in our stories, we have to think of that beauty came from great hardship. So, if you live 500 years ago, there's no corner store, there's no grocery store, there's no store to buy the supplies that you need. Everything is supplied from the natural world. And that connection to the natural world then is built on respect. And when you have respect, you know that there has to be a balance in that. Somehow there has to be a give and a take. And sometimes that give and take is brutal. Sometimes it's harsh, but sometimes it's just so beautiful. And so I think that's what our stories do for us. Our stories help us to understand things that we have to be aware of in our life, in our times. And so when we think of stories, we think of ancient teachings, but guess what? We think that they're foreign. We think that, oh my gosh, I just want to sit and I want to listen to somebody tell me about, these ancient stories, but where they really are is within your heart. Your heart is that place where memories are stored, our memories are kept. And when we need those memories, that's when they come back. They come back to fill us with joy and happiness. And that fire starts to burn. And all of a sudden, we feel that connection. And all of a sudden, all of those ancient things are coming back. And sometimes we think, how do we know that? How do I know that? Where did that come from? But it comes from that connection that we have when we allow ourselves to listen, when we allow ourselves to be. That's when we get those beautiful messages that we're supposed to receive, because we're sitting here, but so are all our ancestors from the past and the future, because we are the ancestors from the past, we are the ancestors of the future. And so we have contained within that really powerful knowledge and that really powerful, um, I guess, path that we are to nourish and cherish, and to not be afraid to walk, because whether we're in spirit form, whether we're in physical form, we're still part of this great, uh, I guess, it's essence of life. And I can't honestly say that I can remember what it was like before I came here, but I know that when I go back to the spirit world, that we're going to still be part of something beautiful and something powerful. So why don't we take that power that we know that we hold within, and let's make some powerful changes together. Let's create something so beautiful, so loving, so kind, that our seven generations would love to come and join us. They're dancing up there saying, "Oh, I want to go back. I want to go back," because the what will be waiting for them is something that is unique. So in order to do that, we have to look at our ceremonies. We have to look at what it is that we know is important to be part of this creation. We know that we're not here because we have no purpose. We know that we're here with a strong purpose. So when we carry that darkness, which we must, and we let that darkness go and we change it into beautiful light, that's when the world heals. So we have a lot going on in the chaos of 2023, 2024. We have uh, places on this earth that are being, uh, well, let's just say that they're going through challenges, and then we have to look at our teachings. So our stories tell us that we really shouldn't build our homes in a floodplain. And I remember going into Arizona, for the first time, like I think I was 18 or something like that. I can't remember how old I was. And when I looked, I saw, I guess there was signs, and they would say, "Oh, Gila River or Salt River," and I'm looking, I'm going, "Well, where's the river?" And they go, "Oh, well, one time of the year there's water that flows through." And then I was seeing these houses, and they're built along on a riverbed, and I'm going, "Well, why would somebody build their house, right there on the riverbed, if sometimes there's water in there?" And I could not figure that out because I knew, and I was, quite young at the time. I knew that I'm not going to build my house by a riverbank like that, because I know that someday something's going to come down that river, a full force of energy, a full force of water. And sure enough, that has happened many times when um, that water has come, and it's showed its force, and it showed its power. It showed that we're here to walk this path, and what that water's path is, that at that time. And it doesn't matter how smart you think you are, you're going to be taken by the power of that water because you made the wrong choice. So we always have to look at what is the right choice and what is the wrong choice. And so if we need to be reminded, we go back to our ceremonies. We go back and we sit and we listen to the elders speak, and we something sometimes touches us, because sometimes when we're doing a presentation, we think that, oh, we don't know the power of our words sometimes, and then we hear how the words have affected positively and in a good way somebody's heart. It's reminded them of that deep love and caring they've been searching for, and they didn't know that it was so simple to find. So I also look at those places like the marshlands. And so in those marshlands, there's so much bounty. The marshlands are the bounty of the earth, and they do the cleansing. They provide so much medicines, and it's such a vibrant place for uh, our plant and animal and kingdoms. And when we think about the fear that people have to go into these places because of how we've been conditioned to have fear. Yet those are the places that you can find so much. I would call it good energy. Good energy from facing your fear. And so we're about facing fear. We're about facing it because we have to let it go. We have to recognize that it is a fear. Once we recognize that, then we have to let it go. So the next 3 days here that we're going to spend with Dennis are going to be beautiful days. They're going to be something that you know people will be able to bring forward and to recognize and to understand. So, saying all that, um, when we look at the tears that the moon cries, and we 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 look at where we are when we're looking up and we're feeling that, are we in a place where we're saying thank you and let those tears heal us, or are we in that place where we're um, in despair and we're letting those tears heal us? What are we going to bring forward whenever there are tears? So it's kind of like anything that we do, there's a negative and a positive, or a light and a dark, or a heavy and a light, or, there's always that balance with everything that we do. So what I'm going to suggest is that when you put your face up and you feel the tears of your grandmother, consider it tears of love. You know, tears of love, tears of happiness, tears of joys like you've never felt before. And we have every day to do that. And every day the moon is in a different phase. Just like we walk through all the phases of life, we're always walking in a different phase as well. And so we have to continue the movement, and that movement is like dance. So um, sometimes when you hear that drum, some of us just stand there and we don't we feel that energy that we really want to give her, and we really want to, like, pretend that nobody's looking, but we just stand there. But we have to realize that movement is the power behind those songs and behind that drum. So what we really should be doing now is when we hear that drum, we should be free enough to let ourselves dance or at least move, because the more that we move our legs and our feet, the more power we're given to our being. So now I'll turn it back over to Grandma Renee, and we'll see what's next.
Mm, thank you for the reminder. Again, I was thinking how Grandma Moon is getting us ready. She's just like your grandma. My grandma taught me, have things on hand. Always have a pantry. Always have canned goods. Always have things ready for you. Never know. But today we take a lot of things for granted. And that's why COVID came. And grandmother let a lot of us know that this is going to happen. You have to get ready. And it was amazing. It's just so amazing how we're told, you need to get ready. So how many of you are getting ready spiritually? It's not religion, it's spiritual. It's spiritual. Spiritual is feeling love, so much love that the person that may have hurt you a long time ago, all of a sudden you seem to there's this after many years you think about it, and why was I carrying that anger? It was hurting me. I don't want that. And that's what I've been saying. I don't want to carry that anger. And so I was amazed that there have been many that have hurt me, but it's amazing that love has overtaken all those things that has caused me a lot of heaviness and heartaches. But that's what she was talking about. That love, being prepared, prepare yourself. It's just like those long grasses along the river. That's what my grandma would talk about. Some days you're going to be attacked and you're going to be knocked down, but we have that resilient is to come back stand back up again. And that's what I've always remembered. We got to be like those long grass. And Grandmother Moon, there's a reason. You see, when she was a little girl, she and her brother were taught to go without. How many of us are teaching our children to go without? They had to go without, and they had to go to learn how to be a sacred being, how to appreciate. And they call it rites of passage. And one of the things of rites of passage is discipline. We have to learn how to discipline ourselves. Because look what kind of world we have today, because there's no discipline. I want, 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 want. And as a result, there's no discipline, so there's no ethics. That's why the grandmothers crying, because how many of us have lost our ethics? That was our spirituality. Ethics is our spirituality, and that's what grandmother, her and her brother, when they were little, they had to learn all these things. And there came a time when they were given all that knowledge, how to prepare themselves to go out in the world, and that they were going to be tested. And those are life skills. How many of you are teaching your children life skills? You're not going to be here forever. And that's what we need to teach our children, how to go through hard times. And that's why the pandemic came. We have pandemics every so often, and that's what the grandmother and all nature knows. They know how to get ready. And they tell us. And if you're kind and good, the animals will even come up and they'll tell you what kind of winter we're going to have. They'll let us know. And it was so nice because my son had built a table for where I hang out clothes. And one time I come out there to hang clothes, and there was a couple of walnuts on that. And so I said, "Oh, okay, I'll get ready." So I went out and get. You notice this past year there was a lot of walnuts. The trees were just overflowing with walnuts and hickories, and so that is nature telling us we have to get ready. You have to teach our children. That's what grandmother says. Grandma had taught us how to always be ready. And this is why we're here tonight. We're getting ready because in April, what is going to happen? We have to remember the sacredness of life again. And that's why when I went like this, and here, we need to take care of that spirit that we have. And I know a lot of you, when that eclipse comes, that's a sacred time. This is a time when you can be putting down your prayers for a better world. That people will come to have that understanding from their heart. It's not to be standing there looking up. What did they tell us? That's a time when you're not to look or something's going to happen to your eyes. But we don't listen. See, there's discipline. We need to discipline ourselves. So I hope you learn how to discipline yourself because it can save a lot of harm. That's why grandmother always would say, she would go, and grandma would put her hands on her hip and she said, yeah. That's how we disciplined. And when I hear that, yeah, it means, okay, I got to step back. I can't do this. And this is why grandmother was very involved in parenting because she was to help them to get ready. And that's what my mother did for me when I started having children. She said, "You bring them children back to the reserve." And I said, "Well, how come?" She said, "You just never mind. You just bring those kids back home." And I'm glad I did because my kids learn how to be resilient because they had to walk to school. If they lived in the city, they would have been on a bus. They get a leisure way of life. So my children knew how to walk in storms and rain, all changes of seasons. So this is why grandmother Moon is speaking. Get your children ready. Get your children ready. Discipline is the most important thing. And that's why they talk about ethics. And that's what is ingrained in us. That's what makes us carry guilt and shame. That's grandma, she doesn't want us to hold those guilt and shame. This is why we have that grandma come 4 times in 1 month because she wants us to remove that guilt, remove those shames that we have caused because we don't understand. So grandma is quite the loving person. And so we're getting ready. And I hope you'll be with us every month till when the coming of this when the two brother and sister come together. That's how we know them, the sun and the moon. They're going to share a time. It's just like you and your if you have a sibling, you and your brother. And I think of me and my brothers. You just like to have a quiet time and talk with them and have that build that relationship again and sit there and talk with them. And that's what's going to happen in April, the eclipse, because those two magnificent power of life coming together, we can benefit by their coming together. We can humble ourselves. That's what it means. Don't look up into the sky at this time. Humble yourself and know that what is happening is they're giving us a gift to create a better world. It will come for another several years, 100 years. So let's get ready. And as a grandmother, I would like to see us get ready to learn how to be humble again so that we can create a better world for our children. So I turn it back.
Yeah. So have you had enough yet? I mean, like tonight we're going to close off, but we hope that you've heard something that's going to inspire you to be that change that you want to be that beauty that you want to be. And again, that eclipse, I'm kind of excited because, we have to think of our stories and, what that eclipse meant over, I don't know, I think it was 1,000 years ago or quite a long time ago. And we relate that to the coming of the peacemaker. And so, wow, this world is going to be that beautiful place again, and that's why we are all here. So we're going to leave you with those words tonight, and we also want to just ask you, after you leave, that you just look up to Grandma Mooney, even if you can't see her. Look up and feel that love and feel that gentle rain. Tonight, as we were walking, the rain is just gentle, so it's that beautiful female rain. um, and so that's the blessing that you we want you to feel tonight. So with that, Nyawa Golem, and we'll see you again. Bye for now.
Pama P.
Yeah.
Ona go ahead.